Cillian Muprhy, the actor known for showing the power of restraint like no other actor can. What about him? From a lone survivor navigating a virus-ravaged Britain to the haunted heir of a corporate empire lost inside the architecture of his own subconscious. And from the razor-sharp gang leader building an empire out of post-war trauma to the physicist who unlocked the atomic age and had to live with it. Let's get into it.
Please help your favorite average movie guy get to 1,000 subscribers by subscribing right now.
Breaking through relatively early on. 28 days later, 2002. After appearing in The Tale of Sweetie Barrett, Sunburn, The Trench, Disco Pigs, How Harry Became a Tree, On the Edge, and The Way We Live Now, Cillian Muprhy doesn't enter his mainstream film career as a hero, he wakes up as a blank slate. The film opens with Jim emerging from a coma into an abandoned London, streets emptied of life, hospitals echoing with silence, the world already lost without him knowing it. From the first moments, Muprhy plays Jim not with confidence or curiosity but with disorientation. At the start, Jim is gentle, almost childlike, his voice is soft, his movements are tentative, he reacts to danger rather than confronting it. But as the story progresses, Muprhy allows a slow, unsettling transformation to take place. By the final act, he is no longer just surviving the apocalypse, he's adapted to it. What makes this shift so effective is how quietly it happens. Muprhy never signals the change with grand gestures or heroic declarations. Danny Boyle's film redefined the zombie genre by stripping it of excess and replacing it with urgency and dread. The infected are fast, vicious, and terrifyingly physical, but the true horror comes from what survival demands of the living. Critics responded strongly to both the film and Muprhy's performance, with many reviewers highlighting Muprhy's ability to balance vulnerability and ferocity. Commercially, the film was a breakout success. Made on a relatively modest budget, the film went on to gross over $74 million worldwide, an extraordinary return that cemented its status as both a cult classic and a mainstream hit. For Muprhy, the impact was immediate. The film transformed him from a promising character actor into a leading man capable of carrying a major franchise. Filmmakers took notice. 28 days later wasn't just a breakthrough, it was a defining moment. The point where Muprhy's quiet intensity, emotional precision, and willingness to embrace moral ambiguity became impossible to ignore.
That was longer than a heartbeat.
Batman Begins, 2005. After appearing in Intermission, Girl with a Pearl Earring, and Cold Mountain, Cillian Muprhy stepped into something much bigger, a full-scale Hollywood reboot. When Christopher Nolan set out to reinvent Batman, he grounded the mythology in realism and psychological depth. Gotham wasn't stylized fantasy anymore, it was corruption, fear, and systemic decay, and at the center of that fear stood Dr. Jonathan Crane. Muprhy's Scarecrow is introduced not as a theatrical villain, but as a respected psychiatrist. Soft-spoken, polite, almost gentle, that's what makes him so disturbing. Muprhy plays Crane with clinical detachment as if he's perpetually studying the world around him. When the mask goes on and Crane becomes Scarecrow, the transformation isn't physical, it's ideological. Critically, the film was a major success. Reviewers praised Nolan's grounded direction and singled out the film's villains as a major strength. Muprhy's Scarecrow is often highlighted as one of the most memorable elements of the film. Commercially, the film marked a triumphant rebirth for the franchise, grossing over $375 million worldwide, restoring credibility to Batman after the missteps of the previous installment. For Muprhy, the role was significant in another way. It became one of the most important creative partnerships of his career. Christopher Nolan saw something in him and would continue to cast him in increasingly substantial roles. Batman Begins didn't make Muprhy the leading man of the franchise, but it made him unforgettable within it. And in doing so, it proved he could move seamlessly between indie grit and blockbuster skill without losing the quiet menace that defined him.
Well, I already know what he'll say. That we should kill you.
Red Eye, 2005. That same year, this film proved he could dominate a film without nothing more than a smile. Directed by Wes Craven, this tightly wound thriller is set almost entirely on a commercial flight. Muprhy plays Jackson Ripner, a charming stranger who strikes up a conversation with Rachel McAdams' Lisa in an airport lounge. He's polite, tentative, almost flirtatious, and then, mid-flight, the mask drops. Ripner calmly reveals that he's part of an assassination plot and that Lisa's father will be killed if she doesn't cooperate. From that moment on, the film becomes a psychological jewel played out in cramped airplane seats at 20,000 feet. What makes Muprhy's performance so effective is control. He never raises his voice unnecessarily, he doesn't posture or overplay the menace. Instead, he leans into stillness as he has always done. Muprhy understands that intimidation is more frightening when it's intimate. The confined setting amplifies every glance and whispered threat. Critically, the film was well received, with many reviewers praising its lean structure and Muprhy's turn as one of the film's strongest elements. He was frequently cited as a standout. Commercially, the film was a solid success, grossing over $95 million worldwide, proving that a tightly focused, character-driven thriller could still draw major audiences. In the span of a single year, Muprhy had played a comic book villain and a grounded modern terrorist, and both felt completely believable. Red Eyes showcased a different facet of his screen presence, not vulnerability, not transformation, but precision, and sometimes precision is far more dangerous.
Because I've followed you for 8 weeks now, and I never once saw you order anything but a fucking sea breeze.
Breakfast on Pluto, 2005. Again that same year, Cillian Muprhy made a turn no one saw coming. In this film, Muprhy plays Patrick Kitten Braden, a transgender woman growing up in 1970s Ireland during the height of political unrest. The film follows Kitten's journey from a small Irish town to London, searching for love, identity, and a mother who abandoned her at birth. Muprhy approaches Kitten with warmth, grace, and emotional sincerity. There's a dreamlike quality to the character, a refusal to let cruelty define her. Muprhy resists turning the role into caricature or melodrama, instead he leans into softness, gentle speech, delicate physicality, and an almost whimsical optimism that shields deep pain. The transformation is striking. Muprhy fully commits, emotionally and physically, without ever winking at the audience. He plays Kitten as a human first, not a statement. Critics responded strongly to the performance. Muprhy was widely praised for his sensitivity and fearlessness in the role, with many noting how convincingly he disappeared into the character. The film marked his first and still only second major award recognition, with a Golden Globe nomination for Best Actor in a Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy. Commercially, the film was more modest, grossing almost $4 million worldwide. Still, Breakfast on Pluto was a pivotal moment. It shattered any attempt to typecast him. It wasn't just range, it was fearlessness. Returning to his favorite collaborators. Sunshine, 2007. After appearing in The Wind That Shakes the Barley, Cillian Muprhy reunited with director Danny Boyle for something existential. The film is set in a future where the sun is dying and Earth is freezing into extinction. A small crew of astronauts is sent on a final mission, deliver a massive nuclear payload into the sun's core and reignite it. Muprhy plays Robert Capa, the physicist responsible for detonating the device, the man literally holding humanity's last hope in his hands. From the start, Muprhy plays Capa as introspective. He isn't a swaggering space hero, he's quiet, thoughtful, almost spiritual in his connection to the mission. As the mission begins to unravel, Muprhy subtly shifts the performance. The calm rationalist starts to fracture under pressure. Doubt creeps in, responsibility becomes suffocating, yet even in chaos, Capa never becomes theatrical. The film is visually operatic, blinding lights, vast cosmic imagery, and pounding score, but Cillian Muprhy acts as the emotional anchor. His face, often lit by the glow of the sun itself, becomes the human counterpoint to the film's overwhelming scale. Critically, the film received generally positive reviews. Many praised its ambition, visual style, and philosophical undercurrents. Muprhy's performance was frequently highlighted as a steady, intelligent presence at the film's core, even as the narrative took darker turns in its final acts. Commercially, however, the film underperformed, with a substantial production budget that only grossed just over $38 million worldwide. Over time, though, it developed a strong cult following and is now regarded as one of the more thoughtful science fiction films of its era. For Muprhy, Sunshine reinforced a pattern emerging in his career. He gravitated towards characters burdened with impossible responsibility, men facing moral, psychological, or existential collapse.
The one we carry is our last chance.
Inception, 2010. After appearing in Watching the Detectives, The Edge of Love, The Dark Knight, Perrier's Bounty, and Peacock, Cillian Muprhy had already built a reputation, but here he did something different. Directed by Christopher Nolan, the film is a layered science fiction thriller about extracting and implanting ideas within dreams. While Leonardo DiCaprio leads the ensemble as Dom Cobb, Muprhy plays Robert Fisher, the heir to a global energy empire and the target of the team's elaborate operation. On paper, Fisher could have been a simple plot device, the rich corporate son whose mind needs to be manipulated, but Muprhy refuses to let him be that simple. Instead of playing Fisher as arrogant or cold, Muprhy leans into insecurity. There's a quiet sadness to him, a sense of a man overshadowed by a distant, disapproving father. Muprhy's performance is subtle. He spends much of the film reacting, confused, suspicious, searching for meaning in environments that feel slightly off, and yet he never feels passive. The film's most intimate moment belongs to him, when Fisher confronts the projection of his dying father and believes he's being told to build something for himself rather than live in his father's shadow. Critically, the film was a massive success. It was praised for its ambition, complexity, and performances. The film earned 8 Academy Award nominations and won 4, solidifying Nolan's reputation as one of the defining directors of his generation. Commercially, it was a phenomenon as well, grossing over $839 million worldwide. For Muprhy, Inception, like many of his roles, wasn't flashy, but it was significant. It showed that even within a blockbuster ensemble, he could provide emotional gravity.
If this is a dream, I should just kill myself to wake up, right?
In Time, 2011. After appearing in Tron Legacy, Retreat, and Red Lights, next, Cillian Muprhy stepped into another high-concept science fiction world, but this time he wasn't the target, he was the system. The film is set in a dystopian future where aging stops at 25 and time itself becomes currency. The wealthy can live forever, the poor quite literally run out of minutes. Muprhy plays Raymond Leon, a timekeeper, essentially a law enforcement officer tasked with maintaining order in a society built on brutal inequality. Leon is not a cartoon villain, he's precise, methodical, disciplined. Muprhy plays him like a man who genuinely believes in the rules, even when those rules are morally bankrupt. Dressed sharply and always composed, Leon moves through the film with quiet authority. Less like a man and more like a ticking clock. Opposite Justin Timberlake's rebellious protagonist, Muprhy becomes the embodiment of systemic pressure. Critically, the film received mixed reviews. While many praised the film's central concept, some felt its execution didn't fully explore its philosophical potential. Muprhy's performance, however, was often singled out as one of the stronger elements. Commercially, the film performed solidly, grossing over $173 million worldwide. For Muprhy, In Time reinforced something that had become increasingly clear. He excelled at playing controlled authority figures with hidden complexity.
No, it's not illegal. It's just rare.
Becoming Thomas Shelby. Peaky Blinders, 2013 to 2022. After appearing in Broken, Next Game Thomas Shelby, Cillian Muprhy didn't just take on a role, he built an icon. Set in post-World War I Birmingham, the series follows the rise of the Shelby crime family led by the calculating and deeply traumatized Tommy Shelby. From the first episode, Muprhy establishes something magnetic. Tommy doesn't shout to command a room, he barely moves. A cigarette between his fingers, a distant stare, a voice so controlled it feels like it's permanently restraining something violent underneath. Muprhy plays Shelby as a man not fractured by war but sharpened by it. The trauma isn't loud, it's internal. Nightmares linger behind his eyes, silence becomes tragedy, every pause feels deliberate. Over 6 seasons, Tommy evolves from a razor gang leader into a businessman, a political player, and eventually a figure navigating power at the highest levels of British society. What makes Muprhy's performance extraordinary is discipline. He strips away excess, his physicality is rigid, economical, even the way he walks feels measured. When violence erupts, it's sudden and decisive, never chaotic. And yet, beneath the steel exterior, Muprhy allows flickers of vulnerability, grief, guilt, loneliness. They surface briefly, then disappear behind composure. Critically, the series grew from a strong BBC drama into a global phenomenon. While early seasons were praised for their style and writing, it was Muprhy's performance that consistently drew acclaim. As the series progressed, he was widely regarded as delivering one of the defining television performances of the decade, but never showered by awards. The show became a massive international success, turning Thomas Shelby and the Peaky Blinders themselves into a cultural symbol. The haircut, the suits, the slow-motion walks set to modern rock soundtracks. For Muprhy, Peaky Blinders marked a turning point. After years of powerful supporting roles and stand-up performances in ensemble films, he finally had a character entirely his own, and he carried it for nearly a decade without delusion.
Never listens, Lizzie.
In the Heart of the Sea, 2015. After appearing in The Dark Knight Rises, Aloft, and Transcendence, Cillian Muprhy returned to something more grounded and more human. This film tells the true story that inspired Moby Dick, the doomed 1820 voyage of the whaling ship Essex. Muprhy plays Matthew Joy, the ship's first mate, a disciplined, experienced sailor caught between duty, pride, and survival. Unlike some of the more flamboyant personalities aboard the ship, Joy is steady, reserved, observant. Muprhy unsurprisingly leans into restraint once again. When a whale attack devastates the ship and the crew is left stranded at sea, Muprhy subtly shifts the performance. Hunger, fear, and moral collapse begin to erode the rigid structure Joy clings to. Critically, the film received mixed reviews. While many praised its skill, cinematography, and visual effects, some felt the emotional depth didn't fully match its ambition. Commercially, the film underperformed, grossing around $94 million worldwide. For Muprhy, though, the role continued a clear pattern. He gravitates towards men facing forces beyond their control, in this case from nature itself.
So we are headed into a squall of more than 8 knots, and it's moving faster than that.
Dunkirk, 2017. After appearing in Anthropoid, Free Fire, and The Party, Cillian Muprhy reunited with Christopher Nolan once again. Set during the evacuation of Allied soldiers from France in World War II, Dunkirk is structured around survival, land, sea, and air converging in relentless tension. Muprhy plays a nameless, shell-shocked soldier rescued from a sinking ship. From the moment he's pulled aboard the civilian boat, Muprhy's performance is built on fragility. His eyes are distant, his movements are erratic, he speaks with urgency, bordering on panic, insisting the boat turn back to England. It's not cowardice, it's survival instinct pushed past its limit. Muprhy portrays psychological collapse with unsettling realism. There's no theatrical breakdown. Instead, he embodies a man whose nervous system is overloaded. In a film defined by scale, aerial dogfights, sinking ships, ticking clocks, Muprhy brings intimacy. Critically, the film was met with widespread acclaim. Nolan's direction, the film's structure, and its immersive sound design were all praised, and Muprhy's performance was noted for its raw authenticity. Commercially, the film was a major success as well, grossing over $549 million worldwide. For Muprhy, the role was subtle but significant. In Dunkirk, there is no triumph in his performance, only survival, and sometimes that's the most honest victory of all.
Will you be okay? Boy.
A Quiet Place Part 2, 2020. After appearing in Delinquent Season and Anna, Cillian Muprhy steps into a world where silence is survival. He plays Emmett, a hardened survivor living in isolation after the alien invasion that decimated humanity. From his first appearance, Muprhy makes Emmett wary and guarded. His beard is unkempt, his posture defensive, his voice low and hesitant, as if even speaking costs something. Which obviously is true in some way. Muprhy slowly peels back the character's resistance. The film becomes less about monsters and more about trust. Muprhy excels in that transition, allowing flickers of empathy to break through Emmett's hardened exterior. The shift is gradual and believable. What makes Muprhy so effective in the role is unsurprisingly restrained again. The film relies heavily on silence and he understands how to act within it. Critically, the film was well received. Reviewers praised its tension, performance, and expansion of the world introduced in the first film. Muprhy's addition to the cast was frequently highlighted as a strong evolution for the series and just a very cool casting in general. Commercially, the film was a major success, grossing over $297 million worldwide. In a world where making noise means death, Muprhy once again proves that silence can be the most powerful tool.
Get it done! Get it done!
Becoming an Oscar winner. Oppenheimer 2023. After appearing in Kensuke's Kingdom, finally he became the center of the explosion. Cillian Muprhy steps into the role of J. Robert Oppenheimer, theoretical physicist, architect of the atomic bomb, and one of the most morally complex figures of the 20th century. After years of orbiting Christopher Nolan's film, Muprhy becomes the gravitational force. From the opening frames, the performance is interior. Nolan structures the film around memory, interrogation, and consequence, and Muprhy anchors it all with stillness that vibrates beneath the surface. His Oppenheimer is brilliant, ambitious, restless. The eyes move constantly, the body seems slightly ahead of itself, like a mind that never stops calculating. Muprhy doesn't play him as a grand historical monument, he plays him as a man seduced by possibility. In the early sequences, academia, quantum theory, intellectual flirtations, there's energy, charm even, but once the Manhattan Project begins, something tightens. Muprhy subtly shifts posture and cadence, the confidence hardens into obsession, the moral cost begins to accumulate behind the eyes long before it's spoken aloud. What makes the performance extraordinary is how Muprhy internalizes the bomb itself. The Trinity test sequence is almost wordless, yet everything detonates across his face. Awe, terror, pride, dread. As the narrative moves into political hearings and public reckoning, Muprhy strips the character down further. The bravado evaporates. What remains is a man confronting the consequences of unleashing something irreversible. Critically, the film was met with overwhelming acclaim, earning 13 Academy Award nominations and 7 wins. Reviewers praised Nolan's direction and structure, but Muprhy's performance was widely hailed as the finest of his career, a transformative lead role that redefined him from character actor to cinematic anchor. He went on to win all the major awards for Best Actor, the BAFTA, the Golden Globe, the SAG Award, and the big one, the Academy Award, cementing the role as career-defining. Commercially, the film was a phenomenon as well, grossing nearly $1 billion worldwide, becoming one of the highest-grossing biographical dramas in history and a cultural event. For Muprhy, it was culmination. Decades of playing man haunted by war, systems, survival, ambition, all of it converges here. Oppenheimer is not a villain, not a hero, not a simple genius. He is a man who changed the world and then had to live in it, and Muprhy makes that burden feel atomic.
There's no proof there was a spy at Los Alamos.
Peaky Blinders, The Immortal Man, 2026. After appearing in small things like These, Steve, and 28 years later The Bone Temple, he is set to return to Thomas Shelby. After the operatic conclusion of Peaky Blinders, The Immortal Man arrives not as an epilogue but as escalation. Thomas Shelby, as embodied by Cillian Muprhy, has always been defined by control under pressure, but the final season left him stripped of certainty. Morality, once ignored, became unavoidable. The film's title hints at irony, immorality not as physical survival but as a reputation, as myth, as the kind of name that outlives the man. Set in war-torn Britain in 1940, the film pulls Thomas Shelby back from exile into a nation on the brink, forcing him to confront unfinished business as World War II reshapes the world he once manipulated from the shadows. Older, isolated and stripped of certainty, Shelby must navigate a landscape where survival is no longer enough. Legacy is on the line. For Cillian Muprhy, it's a logical final movement. A man who built power through control now facing a world that cannot be controlled, only endured. Let's see if the feature film can hit some of the highs of the TV series, because there definitely were some highs.
Because I'm not that man anymore.
And there you have it, the full career of Cillian Muprhy. From his collaborations with Boyle and Nolan to returning to the character that made him a household name. Now let me ask you, are you excited for Peaky Blinders, The Immortal Man? And what is your favorite Cillian Muprhy performance? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe for more videos like these.
I have been Dean, the average movie guy on your screen. Big thanks for watching. See you next time. Roll the credits.